So last year was an incredible year for compact smartphones. For the first time in a long time, small phones didn't feel like compromises. My two absolute favorite compact phones right now are the Vivo X300 and the iPhone 17. But now Xiaomi has kind of raised the bar with this phone, the Xiaomi 17. Because it barely has any compromises, at least on paper. It packs the latest flagship Android chipset, features the biggest battery in its segment, and has one of the best hands-on feel on a compact phone ever. So the real question is, has Xiaomi just built the ultimate compact flagship, or is there a catch? And after spending real time with it, here's the thing. In many ways, Xiaomi has actually delivered on all of the 5 pillars of a great smartphone. First of all, Xiaomi has nailed it when it comes to the design. Despite increasing the battery capacity, they've managed to keep the weight almost identical to last year. Plus, the size here is just perfect. The hands-on feel is premium with even weight distribution, and this glass back is matte, so I've had zero issues with fingerprint smudges and all in all, using this phone feels so handy and so comfortable. Although considering the flagship price and additional IP69 rating and the latest Gorilla Glass protection would have been cherry on top rather than just IP68 and regular Xiaomi Shield glass protection, I know I'm nitpicking, but when you pay a good price, it's not wrong to expect the best. Likewise, for a compact phone, the battery endurance it has given me has been quite good. Just look at my screen on time data. I was getting close to 9 to 10 hours of screen on time on regular use, which means this is a full day battery phone. In fact, this small phone has better endurance than both the Xiaomi 17 Pro and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Now, unfortunately, Xiaomi has followed Apple and Samsung's trend of removing the charger from the box, so you don't get one here included. It does support a much faster 100-watt wired and 50-watt wireless charging than what we get on the iPhone 17 or the latest Galaxy S26. Plus, this year, the Xiaomi 17 also supports USB PD with PPS and China's unified fast charging standard, which means it can get high charging speeds even with good third-party GaN chargers or compatible laptop adapters. So you're not completely locked into buying Xiaomi's own brick. Now, moving on, I don't think I need to talk about the display much because coming in 2026, if there is one thing that smartphone brands have nailed, it's the display. Here, first of all, we're getting a decently sized 6.3-inch screen. That means if you have small hands like me, you don't have to deal with today's oversized, hard-to-manage screens. And the core quality of this screen is quite nice. It's a TCL-made panel with a 120Hz LTPO refresh rate, 12-bit color depth, fast touch response, both hardware and software level eye protection, and brightness that is almost as good as any other flagship phone out there. And even when it comes to the overall performance, there is zero compromise here. We are getting the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 with LPDDR5X RAM, a USB 3.2 Type-C port, and UFS 4.1 storage. And as a content creator who has to keep copying files from my phones to laptop and vice versa, it's just so good to have a phone that transfers data in a flash, at least faster than both the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro. Using this phone normally isn't an issue either. The phone feels super fast, handles reel editing, multitasking, and all very well. Sometimes I've noticed a few stutters here and there, but other than that, this phone is fast and I don't think minor stutters are much of an issue here. Now, while we're talking about HyperOS, I will admit that it is not one of my favorite Android skins, but at the same time, there is nothing inherently wrong with it either. It's feature-rich, very usable, and the latest version feels noticeably smoother and more refined compared to the previous generations. Plus, Xiaomi has upped the update game from 3 plus 4 years to 5 years of OS and 6 years of security updates, which is just great. The only feedback I have for Xiaomi is maybe to have a couple of unique AI features of their own, as Samsung does, that would really help Xiaomi distinguish itself from other smartphone brands. Oh, I think I forgot to talk about gaming. So with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 running the show, the Xiaomi 17 actually performs well in gaming in almost all of the titles. You can check my gaming results on the screen. I was getting good average FPS and 5% lows, and the phone supports 120 FPS gaming. The good news is that we get a pretty big vapor chamber cooling system here, so I didn't notice much heating when playing heavy-duty games like Genshin Impact, even for around 30 to 40 minutes either. It's only when running extensive benchmarks or highly taxing activities like recording in the sun for a long time that I notice the camera module and the aluminum frames getting hot. Like after running the 3D benchmark, if you swipe through the UI, you will notice jitters. But that's the only instance when I have actually seen some performance throttling, which might not be that big a deal in real life usage. Now, before getting to the cameras, I want to talk about some quality of life features, and I have to say that Xiaomi has done well in terms of speakers, haptics and such too. The stereo speakers here are loud with good emphasis on the highs and mids. The bass could have been a little better though. The haptic feedback is crisp while unlocking the fingerprint sensor, typing and all too, and overall interacting with this phone is a really nice experience. That said, now let's talk about the cameras, and for a compact phone, the experience is not bad. Xiaomi hasn't changed the camera specs much from last year. It's still a 50 megapixel triple camera setup with an upgraded OmniVision sensor for the main camera, the Samsung JN5 for telephoto, and a downgraded ultra-wide camera. The cameras here are still optimized by Leica, but I don't think you should expect the same performance as with the more expensive Xiaomi 17 Ultra. The primary lens here produces nice images in almost all of the lighting conditions. They are sharp, have good dynamic range, better than the iPhone 17, and even in the default vivid mode, the saturation levels are not indigestible. In fact, they are quite close to natural. The only thing I think Xiaomi needs to improve as far as the 1x images go is the white balance. Otherwise, I am pretty positive about its images. Even the portraits from its telephoto lens are good for sharing on social media. The skin tone comes off a bit bright sometimes, but it's not a problem. In fact, most of the time I prefer it over iPhone's yellow brownish color reproduction. I wish the shadow processing on the face was a bit better in the default 2.6x mode. For some reason, the shadows are better processed in the 3.2x option. By the way, the telephoto camera can also take nice macro photos. It has a minimum focusing distance of 10 centimeters, so you can get really close to your subject, and the results are quite impressive. The selfie cameras also improved this year, up from 32 megapixels to 50 megapixels, and it's not that bad actually. Details could be better, but most of my selfies have turned out quite pleasing from the Xiaomi 17. It's not as wide as the iPhone, but the width is decent, not bad at all. Likewise, the selfie videos, again, they're not as wide as the iPhone, but stabilization-wise, it's nice enough. I still prefer the iPhone when shooting videos for social media, though the quality comes off better. But Xiaomi's videos are not bad either. The only thing that's actually not on par is the ultra-wide photos and videos. First of all, the ultra-wide lens is just 17mm wide, so the images aren't wide at all. And the details, despite it being a 50 megapixel sensor, are quite muddy, especially at night. Also, it's fair to say that the ultra-wide videos at night are miserable and subpar even in good ambient lighting conditions. The main 1x and the telephoto lens perform well in both day and night time though. The videos are sharp and stable, not much to complain about actually. So after using the Xiaomi 17 for almost a week now, what I can say is for a compact phone, it didn't really feel like a downgrade when I switched from my daily driver, the iPhone 17 Pro. The only real compromises I noticed were its weak ultra-wide camera and maybe the slightly less versatile zoom range. Other than that, this year's Xiaomi 17 is an almost perfect all-rounder compact phone with just no major flaws that I can think of. But is it better than the iPhone 17 and the Vivo X300, which you can get for more or less the similar price? That I will tell you in my upcoming video, so stay tuned, and if you enjoyed this review, a sub to the channel would be amazing. Saying this, I'm Pratima and I'll see you in my next video.